Hey everyone, you're very welcome to Danu's Irish Herb Garden. And this time tomorrow, when you see this video rather on Sunday, I'll be out at Cluna Retreat in Westport doing my workshop, Herbal Health for Women. So I'll be in the thick of it and having a great time, and you'll be missing it, I'm afraid. But you could do it online if you wanted to. But it's still harvest time, of course, because it's just coming to the end of August. So I've harvested all of our potatoes from here, and I'm just going to get these last few before we check the vertical growing that Lol tried. And we Irish, we love our spuds. We'll have them boiled, baked, roasted, chipped, in a potato salad, any which way you can imagine. We love our potatoes. So it's always exciting when you get to the potato harvest. And we've had some absolutely delicious potatoes from here, smaller than usual. So I presume that's because we haven't had the amount of rain that we would normally have. We were lucky, we didn't suffer from any drought like a lot of other people have done. And oh, there's a good few coming up there now. So you might wonder why Irish people are so obsessed with potatoes. And I think it's just because they're so tasty, they're so versatile, they're so nutritional. And in the bad old days, when Ireland was occupied, visitors to Ireland always commented on how beautiful the Irish peasants were, because they were eating such a nutritious vegetable, high in vitamins and minerals and even a little bit of protein, unlike peasants on the European continent who had to endure mouldy bread and poor quality bread. Another misconception that some people have is that when the Irish people had the so-called potato famine in the 1840s and 50s, and they might think, well, why were they so silly as to just grow one type of food? And the thing is that they weren't being silly. That was all they were allowed to sow on their own little patches. All the other land was used for food that was exported to England. And in fact, under Queen Victoria's parliament or government at the time, there was actually a genocide here because 2/3 of the troops were in Ireland. Imagine the map, it's pink and red everywhere because of all the colonies. And yet 2/3 of all the troops were in Ireland to guard the food as it was exported. So beef, pork, ham, bacon, whiskey, oats, eggs, all went to England, and people were left with their tiny plots of potatoes, and that's all they had. And so when that blight appeared and destroyed the potato crop, in fact, there's a film here that you can see that we did just before Christmas last year. It explains it a bit more. But anyway, I think we do know, because of that experience, there are lots of Irish people who understand it's important to be resilient and self-sufficient and to at least guard against anything like that happening again. Oh, a few more spuds there. I have to cut all of this back. There's lots of nettles there and figwort and the monbretia that's grown in. There's potatoes all the way back there that I'll have to get to another day. But this is an ordinary vegetable bed. It's just a raised bed. Traditionally, people made what's called lazy beds, and they took a huge amount of work. So there's no laziness involved really, except that once the potatoes are in, they're just easy to maul up and earth up, as some people would say. So we have done some lazy beds down in the bee garden, and this was really just the surplus potatoes. And then Lol was very interested in the vertical growing method, which the Amish use, and lots of people use it. But he tried to replicate the Amish method, and I'll show you what he did. Hey. So usually I'm the one that does all the gardening, but this year Lol got very enthusiastic about this method, and he has got 2 of these vertical beds here, and I think we have 2 down below near the lazy beds. And so this is the Amish method of making a wire mesh circle, and you grow inside, but you have to use particular types of potatoes. They have to be indeterminates, which mean that they keep putting up tubers up the stalk. So as you keep earthing them, we should have this full of tubers. But a spoiler alert, we did already empty one and we had a very tiny crop. So we'll just have to see. It's just an experiment really. But look at this. The straw in here, and we've got some of it seeded and grown. So isn't that interesting? It just proves that life is determined to, you know, thrive and flourish. So once Lol had made the basket, he put a layer of straw on the bottom and a little bit around the edge, and then he filled the middle with soil, put the tubers in there, and then over time he kept edging the rim of the basket with straw and topping up with soil. And so the tubers are coming, they're coming from down here all the way up to here. But then he forgot all about them, so we just don't really know what to expect. So now is the chance to see what's in. So I'm just going to tip this over. Oh yeah, look, there's some sheep's wool at the bottom there as well, just to add a little bit of nutrition. So I'll just pull this out. Here's one. Wow, there's a lovely big one. There's a little one. Couple more. That's a good start because we're still on the very bottom here. And if these were indeterminate potatoes, they'll keep putting out new tubers as they work their way up the basket. But if we've been sold potatoes that aren't indeterminate, they'll all be at the bottom. It feels quite dry in here, and it was a dry summer. We didn't get the rain we usually get. But traditionally in Ireland, we're such a damp and wet country anyway that the earth tends to be wet enough to just support your veg. It's just that in recent years it has become a lot warmer, and like I said, Lol, he was busy doing other things. He forgot to water these, and so maybe that's why it's so dry. But actually they're such a good size that maybe they were getting enough moisture. Yeah, I suspect that Lol was sold determinate instead of indeterminates. It's like with tomatoes, you know, some bush and some go up high that you have to put around a string. And I think they're the indeterminates because they keep growing up, and that's the way these should have behaved. But it looks like they've all clustered at the bottom. So I don't think the people we bought our potatoes from understood that potatoes could also be determinate or indeterminate, and they just sold him some potatoes. Yeah. And actually, the further I put my hand inside, it's very damp, very moist, so that it wasn't a moisture problem. It's just that we had the wrong type of potatoes. So I would recommend trying this method because I think it's going to be absolutely ideal. Imagine if you got that many potatoes every 6 inches or so, you would have a huge amount just in that one tiny space. So it is a space-saving method as well as, you know, it's great. It would be great if somebody didn't have a big garden or even just had a balcony. You could do this on your balcony, providing you had the correct potatoes, the indeterminates. So we'll have to research and trust ourselves rather than the sellers as to which potatoes are indeterminate for next year. So I've got more potatoes down below in the bee garden that I'm going to collect now. So this is one of our lazy beds. You can see it's got 2 channels along the side and the soil is lifted and put on the top, and the potatoes are planted into that in the old-fashioned way. So I'm just going to try and open up, see what we get. Oh, that one's eaten. Oh. This bed's not looking too good. Last year we had an amazing crop. We had potatoes from August right through until March, April, and they stored well and everything, but these seem to be quite small, not many, and a lot of them have been eaten, invaded by slugs. So it's a bit disappointing, but that's just the way it goes. Well, our spuds have been here for about 3 years now, and so it's time to move them elsewhere. That's no good. So it's a disappointing potato harvest so far. We might get more in the rest of the bed and the other bed, but it's not something to worry about, because we've got carrots, we've got beetroots, we've got turnips, we have carrots, beetroots, turnips and squash. So plenty of other vegetables to fill our store cupboard. And we will have to rethink how we do it next year, because what we did this year was, we've had our potatoes here for 2 or 3 years, but as I say, the beds are always newly made because of the way lazy beds are laid out. And we also sowed ryegrass to, I suppose, as a winter mulch and to refresh the soil. Hasn't worked too well. But it has been such a dry year as well. And you may wonder about all the weeds. Maybe the weeds have had something to do with it, but this is the way I remember potato beds when I was a kid, because often they would be away from the house. They weren't right at the house. And in the days before running water and drip feed irrigation, potatoes were never watered because nobody would be carrying pails and pails and pails of water in a hot summer. So I'm not worried about the weeds. I'm just worried about maybe we need to find a new place for the spuds. So we've still got a lot to harvest, so work continues, and plenty to be happy about. So I'm just going to continue with these last few, and let me know if you're growing potatoes and how your harvest has been, and I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website, danusirishherbgarden.com, for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.